everybody. This is G, and you're listening to the Sit Rep Podcast, your home for everything related to modern wargaming. And today is our fourth episode of 2019. And with me this morning, I have Jim.
Hello, everybody.
And I have Ralph over from merry old England.
Morning, peeps.
And we're still looking for Chris. I think he got buried in a snowbank up there in the Great White North. Hopefully he'll pop in here shortly. So, guys, how are you doing today?
Not too bad, actually.
Yeah, doing all right.
All right, good. So, another week, another episode. What have you guys been up to for hobby? How about you, Ralph? Why don't you start us off? Anything?
Just did a bit of basing of minis today, ready to prime them. So, basically sticking some Spectre Minis on 20mm bases and then milli putting them to the base to give them, so it doesn't look like a metal miniature stuck to a base. I prefer having it so it looks like they're part of the base. So I did some of my mountain of metal today that I have sitting.
Excellent.
Which is, and then I've also been looking at different ways of attaching the benches to the modified little birds I'm trying to finish off.
Excellent.
And I thought about one of the ways I was doing was straight, instead of using sprue underneath the belly of the helo, so it looks like it looks like basically two big sticks running along the underneath of the helo and stick the benches on there. I'm thinking about using a straightened paper clip and putting it through the inside of the helo because it's thin enough, and then sticking the benches on that, because then I can manipulate it and actually hide it slightly and give it a slight kink and stuff. So I've been looking at using basically straightened wire.
Interesting. I'd like to see that. So hopefully you can post that. So for everybody listening, we are going to start our own forum group on the Beast of War OTT to keep stuff out front, and you post your products there as well as our own Facebook post. So yeah, Ralph, I'd love to see you post some stuff there.
Well, I've got my project for the little birds, and I just need to put it up. I had a little bit of a break, and I did post pictures up of the Humvee and the 4 Spec Ops guys. I've got another one I'm going to add to that collection as well. I've just got to prime them. I've got one of the Spectre Minis, one of the very first ones I did with a AA-12 auto shotgun. So I think I'll paint him up, put the optics on, and add him to the collection of the 5 special ops operators for me Humvee instead of 4.
Perfect. So what minis were you basing? Which set?
It was the ones I'm basing were I've modified a bunch of Rangers, so I sliced the heads off them and put some puppets of war heads that you can't get in the scale anymore. They've upped their scale slightly, of Bonnie hats.
Okay.
So my Rangers have got Bonnie hats, and that's going to basically be modified into a SEAL team, taking active valor is sort of the inspiration.
Oh, nice.
And I've got the female undercover operative for Task Force Nomad.
Perfect.
That they released recently, and then I've got one of the original marksmen, and then I've got the other one I based up was it's one of the more recent Task Force operators with the machine gun, but it's not a mini. It's the X. I think it's the X one that they did. I'll have to have a look. I'll have a look on their website and find out what it is. So I was just adding milliput to them.
Perfect. Anything else, Ralph?
No, that's been me done, really. We'll cover some other stuff when we get further down into what else we're putting calls out for, but that was really the main thing. Fantastic.
How about you, Jim?
Okay, let's see. For miniatures, not really very much. Actually, I'm taking advantage of what's been going on the OTT site as far as the random act of kindness feature that they're running off, where you're basically, giving away miniatures or getting rid of miniatures that you're not probably, going to use to, free to a happy home kind of thing. So I'm actually getting involved in that and trying to offload some of the minis that I'm either not going to build or, I'm not going to be able to finish. Hobby-wise, also, again, for people who have been watching the Op Center, that Op Center takes up quite a bit of time. So that's been some of my hobby time. We're building a later on today. Actually, I don't know when this video or when this podcast is going to go out, but later on, at time of this recording, later on today, we're going to be running a 1973 Golan Heights recreation of Avigor Kahalani's 77th Tank Battalion, 7th Tank Brigade. On the Golan Heights. This is what the book Heights of Courage was written about. It's probably the most epic tank battle that's taken place on planet Earth since 1945. It's absolutely insane. If anyone has ever read about it, I would encourage you to take a look at it. And as far as smaller scale wargaming, we are going to expand our Valor and Victory Edition Vietnam into Beirut 1982. This is going to be for part 4 of the Op Center. So I didn't really want to do this at first because it's like, oh my God, another whole addition to a game system I have to design and build and research and Excel spreadsheets and numbers and fact checking. Remember fact checking? Yeah, I remember fact checking. And so on and so forth. And then I was like, wait a minute. We built Australians and, the first ATF guys for Valor and Victory Vietnam about a year and a half ago. And they use a lot of the same weapons. FN Falls were big in the IDF back in those days. The Galil assault rifle fires the same 5.56 NATO round that the M16 fires. So the M16 data from Valor and Victory Vietnam could easily be ported over. And of course, the Palestinians, Christians, and the Syrian army that's involved in Lebanon are all using, AKs and, those associated weapons, RPGs, PKMs, RPKs, et cetera. Most of the math is already done. It's just now going to be a bunch of artwork and some graphics and coming up with some new counters and maps. And hopefully for part 4 of the Op Center, we'll have a little bit, which goes into, 1982 and running forward, the much more recent Arab-Israeli conflicts. We'll be able to take a little bit more of a small squad-based infantry focus on these conflicts. Because while there was heavy-duty tank combat, Arab-Israeli war-style tank combat in places like the Bekaa Valley in Lebanon and, early model Merkavas up against Syrian T-72s, there wasn't really a whole lot. And the quality of the Syrian tank crews were really at an all-time low at that point. And, of course, the IDF was, they weren't really at the top of their game either. I mentioned earlier Avigor Kahalani's book. He wrote another book about his experiences as division commander in Lebanon. And it's a little less glowing. Let's just put it that way. The IDF has lost a little bit of its shine in more recent decades. But nevertheless, I don't know if there's a whole lot of room to explore historically in big-scale tank mechanized combat in the 82 Lebanon. So I thought that taking more of a squad-based firefight kind of a look through the Valor and Victory system would be maybe a little bit more appropriate. So we'll be starting that in the next couple of days. And either later on today or early tomorrow, we'll be starting up that forum thread that you were talking about on tabletop.com. We're almost like the Waypan thread that they have, the great Waypan thread they have over there on that site.
Good.
We'll be doing something a little similar to that. People have been reaching out to us and asking us if there can be a centralized, easily accessible, always on the front page kind of a place where people can, collaborate, exchange information, talk about upcoming events, maybe link to projects, things of this nature. I think it would be a great idea. Hopefully I'll be able to start that off. Like I said, we have a big war game later on today, but if not tonight, then definitely tomorrow morning we'll have that up. So by the time of this podcast, that should already be up and running on Beasts of War on tabletop. So yeah, I would definitely encourage anyone with any kind of interest in any of our listeners, our subscribers, our followers, anyone with an interest in modern wargaming, to head over to on tabletop and check it out.
That's awesome. That is a lot of work going into a lot of these projects, and we appreciate all your hard work you're doing on that. So
cool numbers.
Speaking of the Valor and Victory, you and I have been talking, and I think that game would be an excellent for a CQB episode. And I would like, and I know we've talked about this, I'd like to do it from the standpoint of somebody coming in brand new to the game and you guiding us through how to play an initial scenario. I think that would make an excellent show.
Awesome. Yeah, we could definitely do that. It's the word beer and pretzels gets thrown a lot. It's not a beer and pretzels game. It is a real live, war game. However, it is more recently developed by a guy named Barry Doyle. The guy really needs to be canonized as a saint. No, seriously, it's free to print and play. You put it out to the community. He accepts donations. ValorantVictory.com is his website. If anyone wants to check it out, I've contributed to him. I mean, he's made wargaming accessible to everybody. And I'm talking about like the old 1980s kind of war games, but he takes it from a little bit more of a current marketplace perspective where, number one, he's not trying to really make any money on the deal. And number two, it's not as heavy or as chunky or as granular as some of the 80s classics, 70s classics, the Panzer Blitz series, the Advanced Squad Leader series, the GDW Assault series. These are great games, but they're games of their decade. They're games of the 1980s, before everybody had Hulu, Twitch, Amazon. Everybody had these post-millennial attention spans or whatever. It's fast, it's fun, it's easy, but it still maintains the spirit of Advanced Squad Leader, I think, with a much more of a streamlined kind of a slick down rule system that plays a lot faster, a lot more friendly to entry level gamers, and people who maybe have never tried the game before. You can probably play a mid-sized game in an hour and a half. My friend Alex and I have had some big games in Stalingrad. It's originally written for World War II. Some big Stalingrad games that took like 2 or 3 hours. We had a mega game in World War I. I redesigned the game for World War I, where we put like whole battalions against each other in like a 4-board trench network. That's about 200 pieces on the board, and we still got that wrapped up in like 3 hours. But obviously, a game on any kind of a CQB episode would be a lot smaller. And easier to get into, maybe an hour and a half tops, and that's taking into account the fact that we'll be taking somebody brand new into the system and showing them how the game works.
Perfect. That sounds like a great time, and I like having the exposure to that avenue as well. So we will definitely have to work on that.
It's originally for World War II, which is a little bit out of the. Which is originally for World War II, which is kind of a little bit out of the SITREP modern, purview, so to speak. Again, I have rewritten it for Vietnam. We could totally take a dip into Vietnam. Vietnam has been built and play tested for, American Army, American Marines. We've taken a stab at helicopters once. I have the counters made up for them. Might be a little bit more play testing needed for helicopters. Obviously, helicopters were not in World War II, and therefore not in the original Valorant Victory system. Civilians, casualty evacuation factions include, like I said, the U.S. Army, U.S. Marine Corps, NVA, NLF, more commonly known as the VC. The Australians are in there. South Vietnamese Army is in there. ARVN, so to speak, and one other, military police. That's not really a faction, but I should say unit types.
Sure. As
far as like what kind of armies and lists you can build. And again, Arab Israeli Wars. Look at Valorant Victory is coming. I just haven't built it yet. So if you wanted to run a CQB episode, I would suggest we start with Vietnam.
Okay.
But that's just because that's what's ready at the exact moment. Valorant Victory is a great system. I think it's almost infinitely modulable. There's a guy on Board Game Geek who has made Valorant Victory for Mars attacks.
No way.
It's actually kind of funny, and it looks like so. I guess is a point as far as how far you can take this system. Yeah, he's got the little aliens on there and their little ships and their little walking robots, and it's all adorable. But you can have a lot of fun with this system. But I would just for our first CQB episode, I think we should kind of kick it off with Vietnam.
Perfect. I agree. I think that would be great. And, yeah, I'm all for it. So that'd be awesome. Sweet. Cool. Anything else, Jim?
For hobby, that's about it for the moment. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, so what have I been doing over this past week? Well, I live streamed on Twitch the other night. I put together the Razor from Spectre Miniatures. sorry about the mic issues. Not exactly sure what we're having issues with. I don't know if it's the headset I bought, so I didn't have to have another mic stand somewhere else. But wow, was there a lot of pieces to that little thing? So
yeah, that was a great stream.
Good, thank you. It's a nice model, but somebody asked me, "Oh my God, I don't think I could do it. There's too many pieces." It is definitely more advanced for some people. You know, some people want a resin chunk, if you will, and throw a couple pieces on it, and it's ready to go on the table. This one is a little bit more to it. Obviously, you know, I had to put the motor in, I had to put the exhaust in, I had to put the suspension together, the roll cages, brush bars, so all that. Once I figured out how it went on the first one, the second one will be pretty easy. So, because I have two of them. They're nice minis though. The combination of the resin's really clean. The metal itself was pretty clean. There was a couple little pieces I had to clean some splash in, but yeah, it's a nice mini. So that was one of the things I worked on. And the other thing, hobby-wise, is to accommodate our viewers and fans who are PC gamers. Is set up a dedicated server so we can offer Arma 3 to our members, so they'd have their own server to go and play with, and play with other members and set up missions. So I have a mission put together. We were trying to stream it on past Tuesday, and unfortunately, the server computer hasn't all the upgrades that the computer I was building the scenario on. So there was an incompatibility issue I didn't realize. So it wouldn't work. So I have to go back and rebuild the whole thing. But basically, just to give everybody an idea and a taste, if you're interested, is that the mission starts, it's your squad. It's a light squad because I think there's only 9 members of the squad instead of 12. But basically what happens, you're on a hill at a rally point. A Blackhawk comes in, lands, you load on the Blackhawk. It takes you to outside of your objective area. Then you have to go into this village and locate a Russian advisor to the separatist group, eliminate the advisor, and then exfil from there to a rally point. And then once you're at that rally point, another Blackhawk comes in and loads you up and then takes you away, and that's how the mission ends. So that's what I'm working on. And it so far, when I tested it, it worked pretty well other than a few kinks. But we'll have the server. My plan is to have the server up and running for actual play on March 1st is the idea. So that is what I've been working on. And it's based off of our 3rd of the 111th Airborne Infantry, which is a fictional unit. So I also built an air cav unit, which is literally nothing in it yet, just a placeholder on our team site. Arma 3, if you go to Bohemian Interaction, it has a team site. And then when you log into Arma 3 through Steam, you'll see an option to play the 3rd of the 111th or to play the A Troop of the 1st of the 7th Cav, nicknamed Custer's Revenge. And then eventually we'll have a mechanized unit. So depending on the scenario, you can play one of those 3. So it's pretty cool. So eventually what will happen, the design is, so say we're playing this mission I just described, is that not as of right now, 9 people probably get to 12. I think the actual Blackhawk in the game will hold full 12 squad. When I looked at the seats, I counted the seats, and yeah, I think there's still enough to hold 3 more infantry guys. That there will be an actual infantry squad, and then somebody can actually play the crew of the helicopter. So, so they'll be able to do not only do the insert and exfil, they can do medevac, and then if they want, they can have an Apache to use some fire support to the team if need be. So that's the long-term design of it.
That's a lot of fire support.
It is.
Dedicated Apache for one squad. That's great.
Why not? It's fantasy. We can do whatever we want.
Oh no, it's. I mean,
well, when you not to give away any surprises, but there might be some light armor or infantry fighting vehicles for the bad guys. So
there you go.
Need to kind of level the playing field a little bit.
Yeah, if you're talking about, if you're, from what I could gather from what you were saying, you're talking about, hitting a Russian advisor that was separatists in a village. We're kind of postulating increased American involvement in the Ukraine. Is that kind of what we're sort of
kind of, in a fictional setting, obviously, but yeah.
It's a fictional collection of islands.
It's a fictional collection of islands. Right now, there are maps you can get for Fallujah and the Sangin province and Helmand province, that area. So, but right now it's using the fictional real estate that comes with the game, and then just building into it. So, the town, the whole terrain itself is already built, and it looks really good. It's just taking and just, basically what you do is you say, okay, I want a fire team of this. I want a heavy machine gun of this. You pick teams and you place them where you want. Then you got to do the trigger. So, when your player group goes into a certain area, it triggers responses from the enemy. So there's a lot to it. It's not just, I want this. You got to kind of think about how somebody would play and how you want the enemy to react. So,
is the enemy always AI, or is it?
Well, as of right now, it is AI until we get enough players, and then we could open it up to a Op4 basis, so we could have so many players playing the squad, and then another group playing Op4. And
I want to be the bad guys. I want separatist T-72s, man. There's no shortage of them things running around.
So that's the long-term plan. We just got to get it up running smoothly, and then get enough people interested in doing it. So it's a nice distraction from miniatures and other types of gaming. It just breaks up. It gets you a little bit like after working on that for several days. I was very happy to get back working on a miniature, being the Razor. So it kind of helps you refresh and refocus. So I know not everybody's a PC gamer, which is fine, but we wanted to make sure we're including everybody that has some type of interest in modern wargaming. And that's why we went with that. And I know, Ralph, you're working on or thinking about doing a Division 2 when it comes out, right?
Yeah, the Division 2 comes out middle of March. Last weekend was the closed beta. I didn't do any recording of that because it was a beta, so it's still in a state. I had no issues with it, but I know there was lots of people on different YouTubers that were streaming and stuff were saying there was some issues. But there's an open beta coming up early March where anybody can sign up and join it.
Nice.
Which is good because that's basically stress testing. It's similar to what a lot of gaming companies will do. They'll do a closed beta, then they might do an open beta. And the open beta is predominantly for stress test for the hardware infrastructure that'll be sitting in its place, especially for online games. The other thing with the Division 2, which is interesting, is not at launch, but post-launch, they're going to allow clans. So it might be something that we look at as a community, especially from those who are playing the Division 2. Now, the only downside of that is I'm a PC gamer. I don't play the Division on the Xbox One or PS4. But if there's any of our viewers doing that, then we can probably say, well, why don't you create a clan for that platform? We create a PC clan and we could have a sit-rep clan, within the Division 2.
Awesome.
So it's something to think about because then that allows group play for what they're calling the raids, which is large man, 8-man dungeons, basically. If you take a standard MMO terminology with it. So there's stuff coming in within the Division 2, but the reason I think the Division 2 have gained a little bit more observation is a lot of people have been converting the Spectre agents to being Division agents.
Okay.
So the Spectre line, the agents line, and the deniable ops line actually lend themselves really well to the New York version of the Division agents, more than the summer version that we're getting with the Division 2, which is set in Washington, D.C.
Perfect. So, what an interesting idea is when that game comes out, to be able to take one of the scenarios, playable missions in that, and translate it to tabletop.
Oh, definitely.
That would be, another source of, for designing a scenario. So, as of right now, I put out a tentative schedule on our Facebook and Twitch page, and I believe it went to Twitter, that Tuesday nights is our planned stream night for PC games. So Arma 3 and possibly Division 2 when Ralph's up and running with that. And then Thursday night is our live stream on Twitch for Hobby Night. And I got to find out a way. Can we live stream it to YouTube as well at the same time? Because some people don't have Twitch. And I'd like to be able to go to there as well.
I think you can. I think you can set up.
It's definitely possible. I just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been on streams where they've been doing it. I've seen it done.
Okay.
So
well, it must be doable because Critical Role, and anybody in roleplay, anybody that watches streams would have heard of Critical Role. They stream through Twitch. They also stream on YouTube at the same time. So I'm assuming it's a set. You can set up a setting inside of OBS to do dual streams.
Okay.
And I think Twitch you can set it up for dual streams as well. Well, not Twitch, but I think OBS will let you have dual streams going out.
All right. Well, I'll look into it because I'd like to be able to go over all three of our big platforms, or Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. So no matter who has what, we should be able to cover everybody eventually, and then that way, when we do, any of our live streams or Jim's Op Center or our CQBs, whatever, it's going out everywhere. So anything we kind of do live. So yeah, a lot of stuff in the works. Chris, you there?
Hello.
Hey, we found him.
Yeah. Did that collection of St. Bernards we sent find you? Did it?
Yes, it did.
So have you finally gotten all the snow you've been missing for a while?
It's cold. It's freezing here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been cold for weeks.
So, Chris, you just hopped in at the right time. The three of us had just finished up. We've been doing hobby-wise, so it's on to you.
What have I been doing hobby-wise? For modern, I've been painting more infantry. I picked up some more Spectre Miniatures.
Nice. Which group?
The SAS.
Okay.
Which ones?
The Jungle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite.
Because I saw the pictures of the ones you did.
Uh-huh.
And I did them up. So I was painting those. What else have I been working on? Working on some more vehicles. I've got a Grodd BM21 Grodd truck with the rockets on the back.
Okay.
That's got to be huge.
Yeah, it's pretty big. So I've been working on that, and that's going to be an objective marker. What else have I been working on? I think that's about it. I've also been working on the script for doing some Skirmish Sangin videos.
Perfect, because that's what we're going to be talking about as our main topic today is the Skirmish Sangin rulebook. Do a little in depth. So you got yours handy. I know I'm giving you very late notice.
I know I don't. I can get it. I can go run and get it, obviously.
Okay. So awesome. I know it's been kind of crazy for you lately here but what else have you been working on? Anything worth mentioning?
The rest of the stuff I've been working on has just been World War II battle group.
Gotcha.
There you go.
I've been working on a lot of that. So
which any of the source books in particular, or
the latest one? So I've been working on a Hungarian army.
Okay, so we're Spring Awakening.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I played a huge 8-person game last weekend.
Oh man!
Wow.
So jealous.
So I'll have pictures of that up.
You have 8 people who are playing battle group.
We actually have probably 12.
And see, do you have room? Do you have room on your couch? Can I come live with you for a while?
Yeah, we have 4 in our city. 4 people that play here, and then we have another 8 in the next city over.
Nice.
Which is about an hour and a half drive away. So
okay. Well, hey, if you got people that are willing to drive an hour and a half to come play a game, it says something about the game,
We drove on the highway in the freezing weather, so we were wanting to play. So yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. It reminds me, have they said any more about their modern rule set? Possibly?
It is coming up, I hear. I saw Pierce post something about A podcast announcing what's going on with that and other titles.
Nice.
Yep. Pierce has said he wants to be a guest speaker on the sit rep. So
Cool.
we're gonna have to. I'll reach out to him again. And
Please. Let's see if we can get him on the next one.
Cool. Yeah,
So
I'll
for
reach
2
out
weeks
to him
from the airing of this one.
Yep.
That'd be awesome. Anything else, Chris?
No, that's about it for hobby for me. Oh, I've been printing a lot of houses, 15 mil.
Oh, which file? What producer files?
What's the fellow's name? I just can't remember off the top of my head.
Is it printable scenery?
No, it's one off Thingiverse, but the guy is
okay.
prolific in his buildings and stuff. But I can't remember the name. I'll if I find it, I'll let you guys know.
Are we talking about Are we talking about 3D printers?
Yeah.
Okay. No.
So I almost pulled the trigger on an Anycubic resin. They dropped in price on Amazon. They're like $400 now.
Oh, they're 500 here, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I could use it. Obviously it's a little small build plate for buildings unless I'm doing 10 mil for modern 10 mil. So I might do that because I think that's going to be my next project once I get some of the stuff off the table is to do Team Yankee in 10. So, or what is
GHQ is GHQ. We talked about it in the latest episode of the Op Center. Is 6 mil,
6 mil.
285. Yeah.
All right. So 6 mil. So I'm probably gonna use them because they have a pretty good source stuff. I have 3 mil, and I find it just too small. Not from a realistic standpoint, but too small from a hobby standpoint.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I mean, by the time we get down to 3 mil,
you play with chits.
Yeah. Why not play Hex Encounters?
Yeah. So at least at 6. But I have another rule set that at some point I'm going to discuss on a future episode of our podcast, and that is Hind Commander, which is a rule set that they uses the 3 mil, but I'm assuming you could still use it with 6 mil. I don't see why you couldn't, but I have yet to crack into it. It's a pretty hefty rule book, but obviously it's a lot of helicopter based combat. Go figure. So, but yeah, because there's a company that's local to me called Pico Armor. And they sell a lot of, they sell 3 mil. So I have their stuff, and it's really nice. But again, from a hobby standpoint, and and putting it on the table, I think 6 to 10 mil is kind of ideal when you want to get realistic-ish ranges and still have something visual on the table.
It's a nice happy medium.
Yeah. So that's where I'm thinking of going. Anybody got any news they want to talk about? Anything happening out there in the world of modern wargaming?
No, I think the only thing that sort of popped up this past week, I might be wrong, was Stephen started previewing some of the stuff for Spectre 2nd edition.
Yeah. Yeah, he did talk about a change in a rule.
Yeah, it was the suppression rule.
Yes.
They've changed how suppression works, which is a good idea.
Do you have that up, Ralph, that you could do that a little bit?
I can bring it up now. I've got the Spectre
Facebook
page open. So
yeah, he keeps hinting that the rules are very, very close to being released. So here's my prediction. And I'm not usually good with predictions, but it's either going to be Adepticon or Salute. We're going to see the rules. I'm making that prediction now.
I think it'll be before Salute.
So it might be Adepticon. I just literally, as we're talking, I just got a message from Matt confirming that they're going to be at Adepticon.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So I will be nailing them down. I'm trying to coordinate. So for everybody out there, I'm trying to coordinate all these people for a live roundtable discussion podcast. So I'm trying to get Matt and Steven and Alex from Full Battle Rattle, Tim from Miniature Building Authority, the guys from Skirmish, because they're all going to be there this year. I'm trying to get them for a live podcast. Sit down and say, hey, what is the state of modern wargaming as you all see it, and where do you want to go with it? So I'm hoping to have a really good roundtable discussion.
Okay, so the post went up on the 15th. So it went up on Friday. It opens up with it says in the lead up to the release of Spectre Operation 2nd Edition. So I think we're looking quite reasonably. One of the biggest areas that we've updated is suppression. So it goes into a little bit about suppression. and within the first iteration of it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So after long play testing, rewriting, and more play testing, we now we have a really innovative and realistic suppression mechanic that does not slow down the game and greatly enhances its tactical play.
Okay.
In doing so, it led to the creation of an equally innovative squad mechanic. More on that later. So they're bringing in squad mechanics into
Nice.
the rules. Yeah. So suppression mechanic at its core, suppressive fire over a certain level triggers a command test, which I don't think it used to do.
I don't have my Spectre book running.
No, I don't either. Failing a test creates suppression effects over several escalating levels, suppressed, pinned, and you've asked for it routed, so you can now route the enemy if you put enough suppression down onto them.
Oh, nice. Okay.
To manage the difference in abilities of the troops, the effects are different. It's very hard to pin down and route some of the better trained troops. So against militia, it might be easier to route them. Yeah. But against, say, professional troops or tier 1 troops, it's going to be quite difficult to route those troops.
And that makes perfect sense. I mean, the higher quality of training and experience, harder it is for them to run away. So, a lot of them like to stay in the fight.
They do. This new suppression mechanic now makes squads and squad leaders more valuable, especially for large militia groups that gain bonuses in numbers. So I think what they're saying is if you've got, a large militia, then, it's difficult to say you've got 30 guys.
Sure.
It's quite difficult to lay down enough suppression for them to run. You're talking 30 people, you would have to put a lot of fire down constantly. I think, you're talking minigun, that type of thing. Suppression from vehicle suppression might, but I'm guessing small arm suppression, you've got 30 militia guys charging you. Maybe not. Gain bonuses and professional elites, troops mentoring lower tier squads as well. That's a rule from the original, where you could have professional soldiers and elite troops mentoring them.
Okay.
So you could have an elite soldier with 10 militia or 10 lower trained troops. So it was a bit like advisor and that type of mechanic.
Perfect.
And then he says more coming along, and then he posted up some new pictures as well to go with it. So you've got some, one of the pictures is a collection of African, basically what looks like Somalian, that type of football shirts, that type of thing. The next one is a collection of Humvees, one with a GAU 25 on the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does that weapon fire without flipping a truck over?
The other one is a collection of the militia with the Soviet anti-tank gun, the twin barrel thing. What the hell's it called? Is that the Zoo 23?
Oh, yeah.
CSU 23-4.
That's the one, yeah. A DSK, which I've just gotten to put in the back of a technical, and a recoilless rifle.
Nice.
They've been posting up pictures. They've been posting up a collection of pictures as well. One of the pictures they have posted up, going back to a previous conversation, is a collection of the agents in an urban environment.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what that reminds me of.
Mm-hmm.
So that was posted this last week, but I think we'll see the rule book. I think we'll see it before Salute.
Okay, well, we'll have to see. Like I said, I'm hoping for Adepticon. That would be awesome. I'd like to really get a preview copy if possible. Wink, wink, Adam, Matt, and Steven, preview copy. So we'll see. Let's see. Oh, so also along the lines of Spectre Miniatures, Black Site Studios, keep promoting that big old ship they have. Gosh,
yeah.
I'm hoping that I will see that at Adepticon as well. Maybe I can get my hands on one. That'd be awesome. I have a feeling it's going to be a very expensive show for me this year.
Yeah, because that ship is it's £95.
Yeah.
It's I think $114.
Yeah.
For the ship, but I think looking at it, and I think one of the major benefits of it is compared to some of the other MDF kits out there, possibly apart from Foreground, is it's coloured.
Yeah.
It's all textured, it's coloured, so it falls in the same category as what Foreground does. Over the things like Sarissa and some of the other companies out there.
Perfect.
But yeah, it is a nice piece of kit. I like the hotel, to be honest, that they've done.
I like the whole modern set that they've been previewing. Like I said, I'd love to get my hands on that stuff, and mix in some of the stuff from Miniature Building Authority, and I think you can come up with a really amazing table. That is definitely on the project list for, either Present Arms or CQB or just a hobby live stream, building a table and, training it out. So definitely in the works. Just got to obviously find the time and space to do it. So
I was thinking actually as well, looking at it, you could have their modern kit intermixed with the Foreground stuff that they've done for the destroyed, that they've released for Desert War.
Yeah.
So you've got the destroyed buildings, haven't you, with the low fencing and stuff like that.
Yeah, most definitely.
So you could intermix that and then possibly bring in some of the Crusade Foreground Adobe buildings as well. So you have a mix of modern and that ancient thing.
Perfect. So, anybody else have anything news-wise? Chris or Jim?
No.
Okay. Well, all right. So we're gonna do a little recruiting. So for everybody listening out there, Ralph, you want to talk about Ghost Ops real quick?
Yeah. I'm getting ready to, shall we say, finalize some of the things on that. So we're now looking for players. So between 3 and 4 people, additional people, we already have someone that's already expressed an interest, and I said yes, so that's one down. So between another 3 to 4 people, if you're interested in joining Ghost Ops, which is a modern military role-playing game, done by, I'm trying to bring it up now, and it's not wanting to load. A guy called Joey I think it's Joey Manning. No, it's not Joey Manning, because that's the guy that writes spooks. I do apologize. Bring it up. The page is loaded now, so let's have a look. It's James Gantry, is the writer, founder and writer of Feral Games Inc., and that's who created Ghost Ops. Ghost Ops was a Kickstarter. It then went out to, it's now available on DriveThruRPG. Don't worry if you don't have the rules or anything, or don't know the rules. We'll talk you through it.
Did he offer up like a PDF version for those who are going to be in this group?
Yes, he has. I need to confirm that with James, of course, once we get started and stuff, just to see if he's all right still doing that offer. But yes, he's sort of offered that through DriveThruRPG. So as long as you've got a DriveThruRPG account, we can get you sorted that way. And then just basically making say yay or nay on the comments section on Tabletop or on Facebook when we put the link up on here, on YouTube. Just say yes or no if you're interested in gaming. And what we'll do is we'll have a look and we'll get back in touch and see how many people we've got.
Perfect. So just some minor details if you want. When are you looking to do it? Roughly what time? And what kind of criteria do you want for players? As far as how, you have to be there so much time, you know what I mean? Give everybody kind of idea of the commitment.
It's more the fact is I want to get an expression of interest first before I do down the commitment, because it would probably have to be at a weekend. Mainly because my schedule during the week can't do it during the week because of work, and it may be a Sunday for a couple of hours, but it'll also probably be down to the fact that if we've got people internationally who want to come in, the time difference and things like that. So first things first, I want to narrow down exactly how many people are interested, and then put out the call to say, yes, it's going to be this. We're going to be streaming, of course. And that's the other big criteria is, are people happy being on a live stream?
Perfect.
Because that's one of the things we wanted to do was stream Ghost Ops through our Twitch channel. So there won't be any cameras. Promise people now, no cameras.
Yeah, no cameras. Just audio.
I have a face for radio, So, so it'll just be audio, and we'll be using Roll20 as well, which makes it easier for dice rolling and things like that, because it's all built in. So you just need a Roll20 account, and we'll take it from there.
Perfect. Sounds like a great thing. So to everybody listening out there, and make sure we put out a written version of this invitation out to all our media platforms as well. Just so if you're interested in participating in the SITREP Ghost Ops group, reach out to us and we will have Ralph go through it and he will be in contact with you to set it up. So I know we have one person who's definitely committed. I am so there. I love RPGs, scratching that itch for modern as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. So that's awesome.
Would that make two people interested then?
That would make two now.
That make two. That make two.
Cool. There you go.
And then
get those tickets. Get those tickets, folks. They're going fast.
That's right. So obviously, if you are one of our Patreon supporters, you get first crack. So we always want to acknowledge those people that are helping us. So obviously they get first crack. So also, Jim, I know you do weekend gaming. Are you at a point where you think you would be open to other people who are interested in playing if they're one of our members?
We put out an invitation almost every week. Absolutely. There's a long and short of it to answer your question. For the war games that we run every week, you don't need a Roll20 account. You don't need a Twitch account. You don't need anything really. All you need is an internet connection. And you're there. Internet connection, some D6, and a belly full of guts, and you're there.
Perfect.
As far as whether or not we can start to stream those on a Sunday afternoon, we're definitely working on that. I'm not 100% sure if we're 100% there yet. It might just be a question of finding the right system that is stream friendly. Arab Israeli Wars, which is what we've been doing so far for modern on a modern angle, is obviously one of my favorite war games of all time. There's going to be a box of Arab Israeli War of Avalon Hills, the Arab Israeli Wars, buried with me in my casket, so I can go to the afterlife with everything I need. But I don't know if it's 100% stream friendly. It might be. I might be, being paranoid here. It's just a long, crunchy, the turns take a while, kind of a game. We were talking earlier in the stream about Valor and Victory for 1967 and 68 Vietnam, and now we're expanding into 1982 Lebanon. IDF versus Palestinians, Hezbollah, other irregular groups, the Syrian army, the fight that took place there in 82. So we're taking Valor and Victory system further into the more modern eras. The groundwork on the math is done, and all I got to do is make the counters and the map boards, and we'll be playing that on Sundays. That might be the reason I bring all that up again is it might be more of a stream-friendly game. Also, an entry-level kind of a war game, like G was talking about earlier, for members of our community who might be interested in giving this kind of gaming a try and joining the modern era wave, so to speak. So, yeah, we're working on a couple things, and there are definitely some possibilities in the works.
Perfect. So if you get to the point where you're ready for other people to possibly join you to play, you can always post your invitation on our Facebook page, with a way for them to contact you, outside the email, because I know your email is to a certain group. So, if we have members of our Facebook, the actual SITREP podcast community that aren't through the email system, that they could reach out to if you have a game looking for some players, and they can reach out to you and go from there. So
we can definitely expand into Facebook. I'm not on Facebook yet,
right,
obviously.
But obviously, I could forward it to you. And
it's email, and it's so far on ontabletop.com.
Yeah.
It's only on the projects, and a lot of people aren't watching. Nobody watches everyone's projects.
Right.
But in this new forum thread that we're starting on Tabletop, we could totally put something there. And again, it's, we'll put an email account in there. Send me that email and I'll send you a link. What this link does is it opens you up into a web conference where you can either watch or you can participate. There's webcast in there if you want. Of course, you don't have to show your webcam if you don't want to. There's chat and there's audio. And one of the reasons that we're gravitating toward this solution so far, at least, it is infinitely flexible. A lot of the other systems that are out there, like Vassal and Roll D20 and Tabletop Simulator, are not terribly flexible if you don't have, a PhD in coding, so to speak, which I certainly don't. This is infinitely flexible, and it allows each player to move their own pieces. So it's not like you're, shouting at me over the phone trying to get me to figure out where your pieces are going to go. It's a shared desktop web conference is really what it is. But I lost my train of thought here. Yeah, so we'll start putting up invitations on the on tabletop. We can expand it into Facebook if you want. We'll keep going with the emails chain that's out there. Yeah, and see where it goes. It doesn't install anything on your computer. There's no additional accounts needed. There's no additional information required. This solution was chosen because it is very low maintenance. It's very low impact on the people who want to join. So that's why we're kind of going with that at the moment.
Perfect. It sounds exciting. So it'd be nice to get more people involved in playing some of these games. So one last thing before we move on. I'm going to be putting out a poll on our Facebook page that would you guys be interested in a boot camp? And if so, what rule set would you be interested in? Because my idea is when I'm at Adepticon to talk to some of these guys and see if I can get some guys interested in committing to participating in a boot camp and, find out the particular details. So obviously it would be like a Friday into a Sunday. And there would be some hobbying, obviously. And, if you've never played the rule set, getting into it and the whole 9 yards. So I need to gauge interest first. It would probably be based here in Chicago, just because Chicago's kind of centrally located to anywhere in North America. Again, I apologize for those over in Europe. But, Beast of War hosts quite a few boot camps over there. And thought it was time that the other side of the pond had some opportunity. So let's gauge some interest from our Set Rep podcast family and see if people would be interested. And I'll put a poll up. And again, it'll be if you are interested, and then what would be the rule set or game of choice. So, and we'll see if we can make it happen. All right. So we're going to talk about our main topic for today, Skirmish Sangin. I have the rule book in front of me. Ralph, do you have yours?
Yeah, I've got mine in front of me.
Okay. Chris?
I have mine.
Perfect. Jim?
Yep.
All right. So let's start from just a publishing standpoint. Jim, you do a lot of writing and rule books. You've created your own rule book. From a game creation publishing standpoint, how do you feel the book is laid out?
It's definitely well put together.
Okay.
Everything's easily referenced. It's well illustrated. It's definitely a great book from a visual design standpoint for sure.
Okay. Chris, I know you've run several games and you're going to be doing a video series on it. What's your impression of the rule book as far as when you have to reference?
I don't seem to have a problem referencing things from the book.
Okay.
I've also made little Post-it notes that I've posted for certain things that I sometimes have a hard time finding in the book.
Sure.
But it's not very many. I think there's maybe 4. The book's pretty well laid out. And I don't seem to have a problem finding a lot of the stuff when I need it right away, because the contents at the beginning of the book is quite thorough.
Okay.
One of the things that I'm having an issue with writing the script for the videos is how I'm going to split every video up. What am I going to put in each video? Am I going to put in hand-to-hand combat with the heavy weapons, or am I just going to leave hand-to-hand combat as its own small section, so it'll be a shorter video than some of the other videos? Or what am I doing? So that's my impression of the book. It's great.
Okay.
I don't have a problem finding anything.
Perfect.
Videos are always going to be longer than you think they are.
Yeah,
that's true. That is very true. I kind of like the idea of breaking it up. I don't know if I'd put hand-to-hand and heavy weapons as one video. I think smaller videos are just as good as, if not better than, longer videos sometimes. Because people's attention span kind of starts wandering after a little bit. So, if you're tackling one rule set subject at a time, that might, help a lot as well.
That's the plan, is to try to get creating a force as maybe one video, and then going from that downwards. But I'll probably do an introductory video, which is the brief history part of the book, the playing the game, explaining that stuff, and then going into create the force, and then so on.
Perfect. Ralph, what's your first impressions when you got your book?
When I got my book, I was very impressed with the book. The layout is really good, actually, when you look at it. And I'm looking at it through here, and all of the shall we say, the meat that you need, sort of the first couple of pages or the first couple of chapters. But then you go to the back of the book from about page 150 onwards, and it's all the quick reference sheets. So technically, you don't need once you say played a couple of games, you don't need the whole rule book. You would just need those back section of pages, which are all the quick reference sheets, which is great, because then you can have you go from like a 200-page rule book down to 20 pages, and that's all you need sitting next to you, along with the character sheet, the sheet for your force creation and things like that. But I think Colin's done an amazing job with the layout, and it's really well illustrated. All of the miniatures, by the looks of it, are Empress as well.
Are they?
By the looks of it, yeah. Vast majority of the pictures of the minis that they've used in their photographs seem to be Empress minis.
I don't know if they had their miniatures out when they first initially published.
No,
I don't think they did.
I think they used Empress as the driver for their photographs, definitely. Because I don't think Colin had done any minis. I think the first round of minis came out with the Ranger book that they did. I don't think they did any minis pre that. I know there's I can't remember the name of the company, but they do 15 mil bus Sangin. I'm trying to remember who it is now.
I thought it was 20 mil.
Is it 20? I thought it was 15. Is that the Warfighter set?
Not quite sure.
Warfighter series.
Oh, Warfighter, wasn't that guy Gripping Beast?
No, it's not Gripping Beast. It's I'll find it. I'll do a search while we're busy talking, and I'll find out what it is.
So, Chris, talk us through, what is the initial setting of the rule book? Obviously, it's in the name of the title, but
it's Afghanistan. So you're going to see Brits and U.S. in the book, and then you'll see Australians and New Zealanders as well. But the ISAF forces, they're made up of British, U.S., Australians, and the French as well. So, and you've got the police in there, the Afghan National Police, and then you've got your Taliban and stuff. So it is based in Afghanistan. I forget what the time period is for the book.
It's flat. While Chris searched for that, it's Flytrap Miniatures.
Oh, yeah.
Flytrap.com. They did a series called Warfighter, which are 15 mil miniature sets, and it's for Sangin. It's got the Sangin logo next to them.
So basically,
the thing that they've got there as well is they've got 15 mil German, because German Panzer Grenadiers were added to the Sangin as a PDF, a free scenario set. They did a collection of like free scenarios. One of them is the Aussies. You've got USMC, 2 scenarios involving the USMC, Panzer Grenadiers, Royal Marine Commandos, and the Black Watch.
Nice.
Like the Black Watch.
Yeah.
I've talked to some veterans from Canada who are also in Afghanistan. I don't know, are they included in the book, or?
They're in a second book.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This one essentially takes place right around Operation Anaconda. So So at that time period.
March 2002.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it really starts, right after 9/11. So we're starting around December 2001 when they established the ISAF, and then it grows into Operation Anaconda, which is March 2002, when you have the more multinational units coming into play. So the nice thing about that is this rule set has expanded to several different ones. They came out with the Mogadishu book. They came out with Conflict Africa, which is based on fictional Africa, because I guess they got some flack from somebody, I'm not sure who or why, about using real world scenarios.
That's the whole damn point of modern wargaming.
I agree. Fortunately, some people get a little touchy about some things. But you can use this rule set in any setting. While it's historically based on current events or more recent current events, you can use it on everything. Chris,
you missed one off there, G, as well.
What's that?
You missed off the plausible deniability.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Which is their special forces rules. Well, it's their special forces source book.
So it's meant not to compete against Spectre Ops. No. It's kind of to give you that feeling of that type of environment in their world. Mm-hmm. So because a lot of people really like Spectre Operations.
Yes.
And so they wanted to have their fan base have an opportunity to play something similar. They came up with the book. You're right. I totally missed that one. I don't know how, because it's sitting right in front of me. I'm looking at it. So,
well, Michael Charge, who co-wrote it with Colin, is on, is very, very active within the Spectre Operations community. Yeah. He's the one that has the Charge blog.
Yeah.
That also posts up in the project part of OTT. So, Michael does battle reports within his own blog and things like that. So, this was never meant to compete that. I think it was just taking the idea of having special forces and creating something that you can use within a rule set that they enjoy playing in.
I agree. So, Chris, what makes Skirmish stand out from other games that you've played in this similar era or genre?
In modern?
Yeah.
Because I haven't been playing modern that long, I haven't played too many rule sets. I still have yet to play my Spectre rule set. Hopefully soon.
Okay.
But that's why I bought some SAS, because I had some ideas for a scenario.
Sure. So then what? Okay, so you haven't had a chance to compare it technically
to other rule sets. I haven't.
What drew you to pick Skirmish then?
Just the fact that, I'm going to be honest, and I think Jim pointed this out when we talked to Colin, is realistic ranges. Weapons have realistic ranges.
Yeah.
And it feels like, my assault rifle only shoots 24 inches, but you've got this long alleyway, and you can only shoot 24 inches down this long stretch, or through this open field. You're only shooting 24 inches into this really huge open field. And it just didn't, rule sets like that, I think they have their places, but it just doesn't seem realistic for a modern rule set to have weapons that have such short ranges that they can't even shoot partway across the board. So to me, that's a big thing about
that is a huge thing. Again, we kind of, like Chris said, we've addressed this in a previous episode, so I don't want to beat it to death. But a lot of times, like, people on different sites will, when we bring up these kinds of topics, will say, "Look, it's just a game. It doesn't have to be perfectly realistic." And when the ranges are that screwy, or ranges is just like part of the problem. When the scale of the whole system is that screwy, it leads to games that are absolutely not even close to realistic. We had a episode kind of like this during the recent Bolt Action Boot Camp. During the free gaming Bolt Action free gaming period after the Bolt Action Boot Camp, really fast. I don't want to get off on too big of a tangent here. I was running those exact same battles that we were just doing in Bolt Action. I was running them again in Panzer Leader, where Hex is, either 150 or 250 meters. And we're having battles. And here comes, a couple platoons of Mark IVs, and they're hull down behind the sand dune. Here comes some not Shermans, some Crusaders with their 2-pounder guns. Every single Crusader dies. The Crusaders never even get a shot at the Mark IVs, and it's like, how did this happen? You'll never see that happen on a bolt action table, because the Mark IVs with their long barrel 75s can fire at up to 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 meters, and those little 40 millimeter 2-pounders can hit maybe 300, 500 meters. All those Crusaders are dead before they even get on the table. Switch over to bolt action, where the entire table you could fit 3 or 4 tables in one Panzerleiter hex. The units do not behave realistically. The game does not behave realistically. The game almost becomes a parody at that point when the scales are that screwy. So it sounds sometimes like, to support what Chris is saying, it sounds sometimes like, oh, you guys are just being, button counters or rivet counters or whatever. It really does cause the game to get a little screwy when scale is that far off. So yeah, I mean, when we were having our talk with Colin, he was talking about 10-foot tables with like 20 guys on his table, and I was like, oh, so someone actually knows a little bit about infantry combat, modern infantry combat. That sounds great.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Any other strengths you can mention, Chris, on this game?
I like the fact that you could play on pretty much any scale of table.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could play on a 2-foot by 2-foot if you really wanted to. And then you can escalate that table up to 18 feet by 6 feet. That's the thing. You can play that. Plus, like one of the things Colin had mentioned to me in a conversation, I think it was on the podcast, is the fact that if one of your team members gets wounded, your whole mission has changed.
Yeah.
Your mission has changed. And I thought that was a cool mechanic. Like, your mission has changed. Now you have to get your personnel off the board. You have to evac them.
Yeah, there's not many games that sort of take that into consideration. Bolt action being the obvious one does not take into consideration that you've just had an entire, say, squad or 3 men in your squad killed or wounded. And it's like, oh, we're just going to continue fight. It's like a war of attrition. It's like, I'm going to fire, I'm going to fire, I'm going to fire, I'm going to fire. Right, that squad's gone. Next squad, keep fire, keep fire, keep fire. There's no...
Well, World War II, especially near the end, kind of became a war of attrition.
Yeah.
So it almost matches that part. And as far as there are other modern miniature war games that have casualty evacuation rules in them. The one I keep talking about is Force on Force.
Yeah.
What's interesting there is that it imposes casualty evacuation constraints and requirements on your free world forces, but not on your insurgents. And to talk about what Chris was saying a second ago, what winds up happening is when both sides start taking casualties, the insurgents get to play in the traditional sense where, oh, you hit that miniature, let me just take that miniature off the table. Better luck next time. Whereas the free world guys, or whatever you want to call them, the operator guys don't get to do that. They have to evacuate that casualty off the table.
Yeah, it does add that extra sense of realism, and it changes the whole strategy of your game, which I find very cool as well. What really drew me to this game, outside of the genre itself, was that it has that flavor of an RPG as well, but it's not Dungeons and Dragons 4.
No, it's not. It's not D&D 4th edition.
Yeah,
I have my M4 carbine of elven slaying. I know you come at me, right?
Okay, so I'm going to preface this to say I hate Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition. I hate Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition.
You're not the only one.
I think
like
you're
D&D
not.
4th.
Tell us how you feel.
It's a totally different game. It wasn't D&D. Anyways, getting back to this. So I really like the aspect of this. I like feeling involved in creating my characters. Not just taking a stat for this leader with this weapon, blah blah blah, but you actually created a character. Your team is made up of people you create. You're giving them names. You're creating their stats, and I really like that because it made you feel really involved in the game. You were emotionally committed to the game. If one of your guys that you created gets zap, you felt it, and like to Jim's point, you got hit in another game system. Oh, well, you lost the guy, right? In this game, somebody goes down, you feel like I have to save this guy and I have to get him out of here. And it does totally change the outlook of the game if you're that emotionally invested in the game. It's not like you're going to go away with, I don't want to make light of it. I'm not. But, you're not going to go away with mental conflict afterwards. But it does give you the sense of realism and ownership. And this is my team. And I'm going to do what I can to protect them and, make sure everybody comes off the board, one way or the other. So it really, if you're looking for a game where you can feel really in depth and, it's not just the game, but it almost makes me feel like I did when I was a kid and I played D&D second edition, AD&D, when I played second edition. When I built my characters and those were mine and, I lived and breathed those characters, you can do the same with this. I think when you create a squad or a team in this game, you can take it from game to game to game if you really want to. It's not just a one-shot, one-trick pony. You could keep that team and have them grow if you want to. Almost like a campaign system. So I think they've captured some of that RPG spirit. I don't know, Chris, what do you think? Do you agree, disagree?
I do agree, because you do have characters and personalities in your game, and you get more of a more of a feel of realism, that you are looking out for their lives as the squad leader, and you're trying to make sure that everybody gets back and you accomplish your mission. And sometimes, if somebody gets hurt on the mission, you can't accomplish the objective, but the mission is just changed.
Right.
Your mission is to get that person off safely.
All right, so let's flip the coin a little bit. Ralph, did you have anything to add to that?
No, it was just the same thing. You sort of beat me to the punch about that RPG element, that ability to create a squad instead of just copying down stat lines. It's something that sets it apart from some of the other gaming systems out there. From point of view of creating a character. The only other system where I've seen a character creation recently is that Shadows of the Ranger, the Skirmish
book.
Yes, by Colin. That's the only other one where I've seen character creation for your team. Rangers of the Shadow Deep. That's it. Where you create your head ranger. The head of your war band is actually created. You create the sub ones as well, but he's an actual physical character on a sheet almost, which sort of really does lend itself to having that connection. And compared to other war games where there seems to be that disconnect between you and your, you might be playing a historically correct force, but there still is that little bit of a disconnect between, I'm moving little pieces around a field compared to I am moving my squad. I care about my squad. I'm going to use everything I can to keep the squad alive and complete my objective.
Sure. So, all right, let's.
Can I add it, just to be devil's advocate here a little bit? I'm not trying to contest what anybody's saying, but just to kind of keep the conversation going a little bit. Okay, so character creation. Character creation tends to be a staple of the role-playing genre. That's great because role-playing games tend to be cooperative. Everyone's on the same team, and you're up against a game master, dungeon master. But the underlying, of course, every group is different. But the underlying assumption is that the game master is not going to have the sun fall out of the sky and land on you. And everyone's dead. So you have a better than even chance. Okay, war games are even money on each side. It's a fair game, either symmetric or asymmetric, and it's competitive. Two sides are trying to win. I bring this up because this isn't really modern wargaming, but it's an experience that I've had, and it's with Darkstar. With Darkstar, it's a war game, and what you do is you make up a little task force of warships, and those task force of warships each have your own captain. That captain gets a name. That captain gets experience points. As he goes through battles, you upgrade your ship, you upgrade your captains. Pretty soon, people are drawing pictures. People have stories written. It's kind of what you're talking about, that hybrid between wargaming and role-playing games, where you have a character that you're building up through a campaign. The closest I've come to a bad experience in Darkstar comes when one of these characters really gets blown up. Okay, that doesn't happen often in a role-playing game. Okay, you can always get killed in a role-playing game, and you can lose these characters to which you had a close attachment to. And it's not that big a deal in a role-playing game because everyone's on the same side. In a war game, it's competitive. The two sides are literally trying to kill each other on the tabletop. Does that run a risk of bad feelings on the table when it's people actively trying to kill each other's characters, the way you don't normally see in a role-playing game?
I think character creation I think we're sort of mischaracterizing the character creation per se. It's in Skirmish Sangin, you roll for your stat lines, where it's not so much, yes, you are creating a trooper more than creating an individual character. It's instead of reading off, like I'm a special ops operator, so I've got 6 in melee, 6 in gun combat. I can run it, 5 inches here, yeah? What you're doing within Sangin is when you roll that dice is you're determining the body type of the trooper from 1 to 10, if I remember correctly. And then that determines the sum of the skills, and then you can add your specialization on that. So it's not full on D&D character creation. It's a character creation light, probably the best way of describing it.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment.
So you're not technically going out and out to try and kill each other's characters per se, even though you are. There's still going to be that connection to it, but it's not going to be that heavy connection of leveling and having a level 2 warrior leveling up level 3, level 4, and then a totally parted TPK comes along and you get very upset with your games master and want to kill him. Not that I'm speaking from experience, but
Hey, we had to write a rule into Darkstar where it was like, look, if you lose a captain, you get to start a new captain with half the experience points. So you get a little bit of a consolation prize. So because people were, again, it's not about paperwork or leveling or a thing. It's just like what Chris was saying. You get attached to these characters. You feel like you know them. You're trying to get them off the table. Oh, Ralph just totally sniped my staff sergeant. Who's from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Thanks a lot, Ralph. Or gee, did you really have to put that landmine there? Thanks. This guy that I made up and talked about, and he has a little backstory. He gets to go home with no legs now. It's in a role playing game that doesn't happen because the people are on the same tide. I was just wondering if that ever led to bad feelings at a table where people have been involved, more of an emotional. You guys were talking about that disconnect in wargaming. I see that disconnect in wargaming almost as a benefit as opposed to a drawback sometimes, because people get blown up fast in war games. And sometimes that disconnect is a good thing. Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I guess you guys have never run across this. I personally haven't tried Skirmish Sangin on my own table. Unfortunately, I do have the book. I just haven't, I have a very, very limited gaming group, that I can work with down here. Obviously I run most of my games online. I don't know if you could play Skirmish Sangin online. That would be tough. But, so I may not even really know what I'm talking about here. So
I think you could run Sangin online, thinking about it.
You could.
I really do. Yep, I think you could run it online.
I mean, there is the modules for Tabletop Simulator, so you can run it there. One of the things we talked about, I think we talked about in the live stream the other night, didn't we, Jim, about coming up with a way where people can remotely play a miniature game. So
yeah, it wouldn't be that like put some reference points on your table. I don't mean like artillery, like painted yellow or white artillery stakes, but put some sort of, because everyone's going to be looking at the same table via a whole bunch of webcams. And it might be tough to set up a studio for that, but I mean, it's definitely doable.
Yeah.
it would just be a lot of work.
I think, well, I mean, as an initial thing, you could use similar to the way that you do your hex encounter one, but where, you know, you have a map laid out and, you know, you're moving, you know, instead of moving a platoon, one counter denotes a man. You know, if you're doing something small and compact, say using Sangin or using Black Ops or using Spectre.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, any miniature game can be converted into a, I don't want to say hex encounters, but into a board game, into a 2D game. The problem there is that you don't have miniatures, and that, for a lot of people, that's half the point. So
it's great having the miniatures. I'm just thinking as a way of, say, doing a, you know, say for example, I wanted to play you and we wanted to try Sangin. That's one way of doing it, you know.
Yeah, I've totally done that in the past. It's a little. There are a few hidden landmines in the idea, but it does work. I've run second edition TSR battle system in either Photoshop or Excel. The toughest part there is, I mean, the pieces rotate fine. You can, you know, have your casualties come off. Everything's basically like a square, and you can have like a little overhead view for your artwork or whatever. Hey, building an army is awfully fast. I mean, how fast can you hit the Control-C, Control-V button? You'll have an army of 700 orcs before you know it. The hidden bug in the idea, and it is overcome. It is able to be overcome. Is obviously scale is an issue. Scale on the table, and as you zoom in and zoom out on the screen, it's like, wait a minute, what was 7 inches now? You have to have a floating ruler, so to speak, especially for making turns. We had like a little turning wheel, and it was scaled to the map, and so on and so forth. There are ways around it. I've done it successfully. Miniature gaming on a 2D surface virtually. It's just again, you're losing that third dimension. You're losing the miniature. You know, drawback number 1, and obstacle number 2 is how do you measure distances? In a environment where, you know, control mouse wheel forward, you're now looking at a much smaller area on the map board. It's doable. We've done it. We could totally do it one of these days. There are just a few things to kind of keep an eye out for.
All right, so let's flip the coin. So, Chris, we'll start with you. If you had Colin sitting in front of you, what recommendations would you give, if any, to improve the game? I know I put you right on the spot.
Yeah, because right at this point, I've played 3 games, and I'm not finding too much right at this point. As I get into games, I find more things. But at this point, I haven't found a thing yet that I haven't liked. The first couple games, it took us a while to get into it because we were learning the rules. So I can't blame that on the rules, because that was us just learning. The third game, it moved a lot faster, and we were going through the game turns a lot easier because we had played a couple games. But at this stage, I haven't found anything that I didn't like yet. But you know, that might change. There's always something you don't like about a rule system, or you think it should be done this way or that way. And but I have not encountered that yet.
Okay.
But we'll be playing a lot more, so we'll see.
When in doubt, when someone asks you what you would change about a system that you really like, just ask for more.
Yeah.
There you go. Ralph, any observations in that category?
I can't say anything that I would change. One of the things I would like, I know Colin's busy doing, is Ultra Combat, which is, I think, the next step up.
Okay.
From what Sangin does. I'd like them to produce more, so we say, source books or more books. You know, the last book they did was The Deniable Ops. I'd be interested in seeing going down the route of some of the things that they've done with like what Force on Force did, where they did like a Bush Wars book. That might be an interesting one, even though the African book you could probably use for. Yeah. Maybe even a what if book, you know, taking the Team Yankee sort of what if and putting into that, but I'm guessing that's where Ultra Combat would come into it.
Yeah.
But Sangin as a system and as a collection of as a rule system and a collection of material that's there is I think, a very robust set of rules. It was the first set of modern rules that I picked up. You know, from point of view of when I got back into wargaming, because I've only really been returned to wargame for about 4 years now. And Sangin was the first rule set that I picked up as a rule set, because I was more interested in modern wargaming than World War II and things like that.
Okay. Jim, any thoughts?
No, pretty much, said everything. As far as Skirmish Sangin goes, some more, like I said, if you don't know what to say when you're asked, what to ask, what you change, ask for more. And again, a lot of this might be covered in the upcoming Ultra Combat release.
Yeah.
I'm usually a fan of larger battles. So anything that takes things up from the squad up to the platoon level, long story short, they might already be doing it. It would be my answer as far as things I would want, things I would change. Relax, James. Sit down for 1 hot minute. We're working on it.
Okay. So here's what, it's not necessarily I would change. I think when somebody picks up this rule book or looks at the PDF, the thing that might not put them off, might make them hesitant, scare them a little bit, is the math. And it's really, if you think about it, if you've ever played any game at some point when you're doing modifiers and stuff, it's there. They just kind of present it differently. It's all on percentages. So you have to add the percentages, roll your D10, you're doing a percentage die. No big deal, right? But if you're never been exposed to this game before and you're like, ooh, this looks interesting, you open up the book and you're looking at a page on up here. Just had a page. That. All right. So if you look at penetration chart, what's the armor value? What's the weapon? Is it going to be a 5%, 10%? You're adding 20%, but if you're this, they're negative 20%. So there is a little bit of rules instead of just, how other game systems present you with just a solid number. You start at this rate. If you're this, you get this. If you're in this, you minus this. This is it's just a matter of translation, I think. And so I just don't want people to think, oh my gosh, if I could do a little extra math. It's all based on a D10 die. It's just the way it's presented. I think it just needs to be easily explained, saying not intimidating at all. When you look at it, it's just, the formula in your head. So that's truly the only criticism or concern I have regarding that.
Yeah, you look at the shooting modifiers. I've got the page up here, 62, and it's like the modifier against the target, modifier for the attacker, modifier for vehicles, and it's probably all well and good if you've got if you've played a couple of games. I think if you're diving straight in, your first game, then you will feel a little bit daunted over that.
It kind of gives me, I think in a way I have an advantage, and we probably all do. You've played old Avalon Hill games where you had to do a lot of modifiers. You're going to play this game no problem whatsoever. So
you've been trained.
Even if you played original D&D, your old school D&D with all the modifiers you used to have, again, this is no problem at all. This is really you're rolling against your strength or your charisma or whatever. So that is truly my only concern. So other than that, I think it's a great game, Chris. I can't wait to see the videos. I definitely think a CQB is in order for this game. So it is definitely one of those up there when you're looking for a realistic war game set in a real world scenario. This is definitely one that scratches the itch. And, all in all, so far, I think we all can say that it definitely is something that we all want to play and see more of. So,
absolutely.
Before we close out the show for today, does anybody have any last thoughts about anything that's going on modern wargaming?
Check out our most recent op center, and we'll be okay. So part 1 was 56 war, part 2 was 67 war. The part 3 is going to be the big one. Part 3 is going to be, in fact, I may even break part 3 up into 2 parts. the 1973 Yom Kippur War. That's what we're actually going to be wargaming in about 8 minutes on another call. And after that becomes what we were talking about before, Valor and Victory, 1982, Peace for Galilee, the Israelis invading Lebanon in the summer of '82. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. And hope to see you again soon.
All right, guys. So that's Jim's polite way of saying, hey, I need to get off. I got a game to get ready for. So until our next time, we're all going to RTV back to base. And for Chris and Ralph and Jim, this is G, and you've been listening to the Red Podcast. We will check you all later. Bye-bye.